Hello and welcome to another edition of As the Blade Turns. My name is Dave Leese, and for those of you who are new here, please subscribe below. I would like to start today by saying that I have nothing but reverence, respect, and awe for the great work that Eteri Tutberidze has managed to achieve over the last 2 years. Imagine the maker of champions who works with a doctor who specializes in bringing the dead back to life, was eerily close to sweeping the podium at the 2022 Olympic Games. It was the Games where she managed to find a wealthy, connected boy and cooperative judges to drag her daughter onto the Russian Olympic team. And when Russia was subsequently banned from international competition, the daughter was then almost American, then almost Israeli, and now she's Georgian. In the singles discipline, Kamila Valieva, Anna Sherbakova, and Alexandra Trusova were primed to dominate. They were heralded as the Quad Squad on American NBC. Mind you, in the weeks leading up to the Games, it was rumored from sources within Sambo 70 that Tutberidze herself had to meet with one of the Olympians and ask them not to skate into Kamila Valieva on purpose. At the Games, Sherbakova ate only powdered food. This came from her own Instagram. Her dress visibly hung off of her as she mounted the podium to collect her gold medal. It was a win that was such a surprise that her coaches actually failed to congratulate her for several minutes. In 2021, Sherbakova competed under the stress of the coronavirus at many competitions, and was even given a mysterious gas prior to the short program at Russian Nationals. Sources within Sambo 70 claim that Tutberidze's skaters were administered cardiac glycosides the night between the short and long programs. While Sherbakova could barely breathe after her short program, she appeared fresh and healthy the next night, performing the skate of her life with almost no visible signs of illness or fatigue following the program, which was significantly longer and more difficult than the short program the night before. And yet, Sherbakova would somehow manage to appear sickly again months later at the World Figure Skating Championships, which she also won. Alexandra Sasha Trusova came back from a broken foot during the Olympic season to attempt, and somewhat land, a record number of quadruple jumps at the Olympic Games. And yet the skate is not what we remember her for. The teenager appeared to have a trauma response on television, calling her coaches liars, telling Eteri Tutberidze she hated her, and proclaiming that she hated figure skating and never wanted to skate again. And for the most part, her words have come true, as she officially put her career on pause last week. And then there's Kamila Valieva, the teenager who tested positive for trimetazidine, a banned heart medication, and had 2 other heart drugs in her system. And while the Russian Figure Skating Federation, amidst all their excuses, has attempted to turn Valieva into a martyr who somehow consumed a glass drunk by her father thousands of miles away. There is growing speculation among the Russian press that the Federation is prepared to throw the Russian champion under the bus if necessary at the Court of Arbitration for sport hearings later this month. The teenager has grown taller and has appeared to have gone through puberty since the Games. The jumps that were once effortless from someone who is said to be born to skate are somehow less consistent and impressive. Valieva, who was once heralded as some sort of skating alien, could only muster 3rd place at domestic competitions last season and appears to be the latest victim of Tutberidze's faulty technique and her assembly line system. And let's not forget, Valieva was performing a program implying that her doping scandal was nothing more than a Western media conspiracy. So how does Tutberidze respond? With Russia out of international competitions, she attempted to collect international skaters and even managed to earn a spot for herself as a coach at the World Figure Skating Championships when the rest of her federation sat at home. Italian Daniel Grassl received enmity from all over the world for training with Tutberidze, and yet Tutberidze held him close. But somehow, under the watchful eye of the masterful coach, the skater has managed to have to be forced to leave Russia and Team Tutberidze after missing not one, not two, but 3 doping tests. Better yet, the announcement comes less than 3 weeks from the start of Kamila Valieva's doping hearing in front of the International Court of Arbitration for Sport. Eteri, you are amazing. Never change. In other news, the CAS Commission denied the U.S. presence at the hearing in the Kamila Valieva case. This was reported on Twitter by American journalist Christine Brennan. She published a letter with the response from the Court of Arbitration for Sport to the relevant request from the U.S. Olympic team. The appeal to CAS was signed by American figure skaters Nathan Chen, Madison Chalk, Evan Bates, Madison Hubble, Zachary Donahue, Alexa Knierim, Brandon Frazier, Karen Chen, and Vincent Zhou. We acknowledge receipt of your letter dated August 24th, in which you ask to allow the observer to attend the hearing scheduled for September 26th through the 29th, 2023. We inform you that your request has been denied on the grounds that the proceedings are being held behind closed doors, and neither party has requested a public hearing. The letter reads, Kamila Valieva tested positive for trimetazidine at the Russian Championship in December 2021. This became known during the Olympic Games in February 2022. Valieva, as a member of the Russian team, won gold in the Olympic team tournament. The U.S. team took second place. The awarding of the medals at the Olympics was not held due to the start of the anti-doping agency against the Russian figure skater. Honored coach of the USSR, Tatiana Tarasova, commented on the response of the Court of Arbitration for Sport to the request from the U.S. team. I was sure that CIS would reject the request. Why are the Americans here? CIS must stand on the side of a fair decision. They do not take the side of Kamila. They continue to stand on their side. Italian figure skater Daniel Grassl has committed an anti-doping rule violation. It was reported by Our Sport with reference to several sources. Earlier, the athlete announced that he had left the Eteri Tutberidze group, where he had been training since January, and returned to Italy. According to the agency, Grassl missed 3 doping tests. The source notes that the most likely reason was a technical error. The skater indicated to the anti-doping services that he would be in Italy while he was training in Moscow. As a result, doping officers tried to take a sample from an Italian address while he was in Russia. It's interesting that Grassl previously trained in America, but did not have the problem of the missed doping tests. Grassl is the silver medalist of the 2022 European Championships in single skating. Daniel recently joined Eteri Tutberidze's training camp in Novogorsk during the summer. If you remember from previous episodes of As the Blade Turns, Novogorsk has rooms set up by the Ministry of Sport where athletes attach electrodes to their heads to have TMS sessions, a PTSD treatment that allows athletes to reset and endure more training trauma, again with their coaches, the next day. Essentially, the Russian sports machine views and acknowledges that training with these Russian coaches is a form of trauma, and they psychologically reset the athletes for the next day. This by a country that is not known to be forward-thinking when it comes to mental health. And while Daniel Grassl said that this was all just rumors and that he is still indeed skating, the Italian anti-doping authorities confirmed that Daniel Grassl indeed missed 3 tests. Your information is correct. It really is. At the moment, there is no decision whether to apply sanctions to Daniel. He was asked for an explanation, said a spokesman for the Italian National Anti-Doping Organization. I asked figure skater and Olympic champion Megan Duhamel to discuss how it is that Daniel Grassl missed 3 tests.
So the thing with WADA is that you need to update your account every day. You need to update them with the address of your whereabouts every single day. And you have to give a 1-hour window every single day where you're at a certain place that you are free for testing. So for example, my window was always 6 to 7 in the morning at my house because I was always at my house from 6 to 7 in the morning. But if I slept over at my friend's house, or I went to my parents for the weekend, or I went on vacation, or I went to a competition, I had to update my WADA whereabouts with the address of that location where I would be that day. I know skaters actually that missed doping in a similar kind of thing like we've seen from Daniel. And when you're not at the location that you've told the WADA whereabouts you'll be, they are going to call you at the phone number that you've given them. And I know skaters that have gotten a phone call, and I know skaters that they've been like, oh, you weren't where you said you were going to be, here's strike one. Or I've also seen situations where skaters weren't at their house where they said they were going to be, and the skaters tell the WADA whereabouts person, sorry, I came to the rink to train at a different time. They'll just come meet you at the rink and then dope you there. But yeah, you have to update that. Every athlete is responsible for that, and it's nothing new. The skaters know that that's how it works.
Tatiana Tarasova does not consider Grassl's departure from Team Tutberidze a serious loss. It can be seen that he likes life in Italy more than ours. I don't like him as a skater. For Eteri Georgievna, this is a small loss, but for Comrade Grassl, it's a serious one, said Tatiana Tarasova, honored trainer of the USSR. Tarasova is actually pleased with the departure of Grassl from the Eteri Tutberidze group. It became known that the Italian figure skater missed 3 doping tests within 12 months. Skaters come and go. Tutberidze will become freer. I'm even glad that he left, said the honored trainer of the USSR. Well, a lawyer for the Russian Figure Skating Federation told what kind of punishment threatens Daniel Grassl for skipping 3 doping tests. Missing 3 anti-doping tests within 12 months is subject to a maximum penalty of 2 years of ineligibility, with the possibility of a 1-year ban if he can prove that the violation was not intentional. That is, he needs to prove that he made a mistake and did not deliberately avoid checks. At the investigation stage, you can still somehow avoid punishment. It is necessary, for example, to see if all the criteria were met when registering each of the flags, which sometimes succeeds. But if he really did not indicate that he would be in Moscow, then this is definitely his mistake. In this case, a violation will be recorded. There are 2 stages. The first is when there is suspicion of an anti-doping rule violation. In this case, the athlete is asked for an explanation, as in this case. Grassl should provide an explanation. If the anti-doping organization considers it insufficient, then the second stage begins, the indictment. After that, the athlete can already provide a legal position, which will be considered by the disciplinary body. The trial is underway in Italy, but there is a rule on the mutual observance of all decisions, so the disqualification will also apply on the territory of Russia, said Anna Ansilyevich. Daniel Grassl has already been removed from the roster of the upcoming Lombardia Trophy. In other news, Eteri Tutberidze has a new 12-year-old student who attempted 4 ultra-C jumping elements at the recent Moscow Championships. Margarita Bazylyuk won bronze. While reporters are wondering if the judges are too strict, the rest of the world is wondering, why is it that in only one country in the world, figure skaters as young as 12 are landing multiple quadruple jumps in competition. How come only the water in Russia is able to produce such amazing feats? Why in Japan they produced the great jumper Midori Ito, in Portland, Oregon, Tanya Harding. And yet it seems consistently that those skaters were very muscular and powerful. Yet Tutberidze is able to get these waif-like figures to rotate 4 times in the air. Interesting that, as we look forward to the Kamila Valieva doping hearing. Maxim Trankov said that in the group of Eteri Tutberidze, there is a boyish atmosphere. He was asked, did your relationship with Tutberidze change? Your view of her work? Your impression of her when you started working with her? Maxim, certainly. Before that, I always thought that she was a cold, domineering person. But in fact, she's a very sincere person. She will always help. For her, the word team is very important. If you are in a team, if you are recognized in a team, then you can be sure and calm. They will fit in for you in any situation. Such a boyish atmosphere. When friends, like-minded people, colleagues do one thing and everyone is ready for each other, you subsequently earn this authority yourself, and either they believe you or they don't. Are you allowed to raise your voice while you work? There was no such rule. No, I can yell, but we are all living people. But not in a way that lines are crossed. Not authoritarianism? Well, I don't work that closely. Tutberidze's coaching staff is 3 people. I train couples. Do they let you in on some secrets of success? Certainly. I do nothing that is not endorsed by Eteri Georgievna. Any question, I go to her first. Well, let me know some of the secrets of the success. Well, this is a fanatical dedication. Everything is at stake. Eteri demands this from her athletes, and they themselves are fans of what they do. If we fly from Japan or the USA, and we arrive from a long flight and people go to the skating rink, we don't go to the hotel first for at least a day. We immediately go to the rink, to training. If we flew in at 8 in the morning, at 10, we are on the ice, said Maxim Trankov. He also commented on the recent disappearance of junior figure skating champion of Russia, Alina Gorbacheva. You see, Maxim Trankov thinks that the 16-year-old figure skater disappeared in Moscow on August 28th, and the police found her almost a day later in one of the cinemas. After that, Gorbacheva stated that her disappearance was not related to figure skating. The only thing I can say is that I have a lot of questions for the parents of this girl, and how it all happened. And they didn't arise for me now, but a year ago, when I read in an interview that the girl lives with a coach, and not with her mother. For me, even then there was a question. Where is the guardianship? Where is she looking, and how is it so? The coach is also very young. If a girl lives with her from the age of 9, at the age of 22, she literally became a mother. On the one hand, this is a very interesting story. On the other hand, I have questions for parents, and for guardianship, and for supervisory authorities too. The Olympic champion said on the air of the OK on Communications program. Well, Tatiana Tarasova answered the question of whether Gorbacheva should consult a psychologist. There is a coach, a doctor. No one ran away from me. They only ran to me. Well, isn't it appropriate to seek the help of a psychologist in such a situation? A specialist is a coach. As you fix it, it will be. Why turn to the help of psychologists? Coaches include a lot of different knowledge. Well, someone with a lot of such knowledge is Coach Sofia Fedchenko, who commented on the story of the disappearance of her student, Alina Gorbacheva. The story of Alina Gorbacheva's disappearance was not related to figure skating, said Sofia Fedchenko, the coach of the athlete, in an interview with Match TV. Is the whole story about the disappearance in the past? Does it not affect Alina's preparation now? This story was not related to figure skating, so it does not pose any problems for her preparation. What conclusion did you draw from the whole story? I don't want to talk about it. It's all in the past, forgotten, and we're continuing to work. Well, how is Alina Gorbacheva's preparation going for the test skates, which will be held in a week? The preparation is going well. Alina is currently training in Moscow and getting ready. And the rest of us will be watching those test skates to see how the great wards of Eteri Tutberidze perform. How will Kamila Valieva surprise us this week? And will Alina Gorbacheva be forced against her will to perform on the ice? Thank you. Good night.